Now, I just wanted to take a moment first and foremost just to encourage you, because if you're new to my channel, then you're probably thinking, oh, this is great. He uses those speakers. Let me check him out and see how much they are. And you might have seen the price. I thought to yourself, yeah, this video is not for me. That's out of budget. But please, I encourage you to stick around and watch this video, because I myself, I didn't start out being able to afford Amphion 218s. Like, I'm going to show you what my first studio monitors were. So you're going to laugh, but here, these are my first studio monitors. They're not even studio monitors. It's just like some JVC. I don't even know if they're still around. CD player. Like, this is how old this is. You can even see the stack of blank CDs, because that's how we got songs around back in the day. But there isn't even a tweeter. There's just one woofer and then a port at the top. And I learned to mix my first vocal on those. I made my first beats on those, and there wasn't even any audio interface. There was an aux jack on the front, and you literally took the cable from there and plugged it into the computer. And they were the first speakers that I used. And then I remember after that, I went to university, and then I was able to save up, and I cut down on what I was eating and how much I was eating out. And I used a bit of my student loan, and then I was able to get my first KRK Rocket 5s. And then after the Rocket 5s, I got the Rocket 8s. And then after the Rocket 8s, I then got some Yamaha HS80s, they were called back then. I think they're called HS8s now. So this was definitely a journey. But each time I learned something, and it made me appreciate, okay, why is this speaker better? What is this speaker allow me to learn? What is this speaker allow me to grow in and to improve in within my craft? So whatever dream pair of speakers you have, no matter how expensive they are, just keep hoping and dreaming for them. Because I honestly remember the days, it felt like the other day, where I used to add stuff into the basket, being like, one day I'm going to be able to get speakers like this. And then before you know it, you're getting those speakers and you're using them on a daily basis. So keep watching this video, stay encouraged, stay inspired, because you are not far from being able to get this quality of gear, I promise you. So the Amphion 218s, why did I choose these? Out of all of the speakers that I could have bought, why did I end up going for the Amphion 218s? Well, when I give this opinion, and it is just an opinion, the important thing to understand is that speakers are so subjective. There isn't such thing as the best pair of studio monitors. There's only the best pair of studio monitors for you. So anything that I tell you today is going to be completely to do with my opinion, my perspective on how I like to hear things, on what I prioritize when I'm buying a pair of speakers. And it's not in any way to dictate that you absolutely have to buy these, but in just sharing my experience, maybe you might be like, Amphion 218s are for me. So firstly, disclaimer, I do not recommend that you listen to these speakers within a shootout environment. These will lose. When I first turned them on, I was thinking, what the hell is this? I was just like, why do they sound like this? It was a bit strange, but the reason why is because I was playing against another set of speakers which had massive low end, were blooming, sounded exciting. And then I'll flip to these Amphions and I think, where's all my low end gone? Where's all my bass gone? But it's only when I said, okay, those other speakers, I'm just going to completely take them down and I'm just going to sit with these monitors and I'm just going to work on these monitors, that I realized I think I'm falling in love with them, honestly. And then funny enough, when I then went back to the other speakers, I was like, what the hell is this? So the sound profile of these speakers is so different to most of the other monitors out there that when you A and B, I just don't think your ear probably has enough time to adjust in a way where it can be a fair test between the two. So if you're going to try these monitors or any monitors, I highly recommend that you take those monitors, you sit down and you just work on those monitors for a period of time, do a project, and then you get another set of monitors in and you work on those monitors for a period of time, do a project before making your decision. When I started working on them, it's never been easier to compress or to deal with dynamics, the way a snare drum sounds or a kick drum sounds or hi-hat sound, and even the stereo imaging on these speakers, the articulation is so beautiful. And it made me appreciate the importance of dynamics and transients versus having a full low end but not having the speed. Now, to touch on the point about speed, I did watch a video, won't name no names, but I watched a video where someone had said that these speakers were quite slow in the low end. That has not been my experience whatsoever. And once again, placing speakers, speaker positioning, where they are in your room is something that you really have to consider to make sure that you're getting the best out of these speakers, because you can put these speakers in one position, get another set of speakers, drop them in the same position, and it just doesn't sound anywhere near as good. So you really have to find the best speaker position for the speakers that you're testing at the time. And I took my time to set these up and to calibrate them. And even the difference between slightly tone them out and tone them in, completely different presentation of the mid-range. So they're very sensitive to room positioning. But once I got them positioned, they sound beautiful. The way a vocal sounds, the only way I can describe it is natural. Like sometimes when you're mixing vocals, you have to think, okay, I need to make this vocal sound a lot brighter than it actually is, because then it's going to translate out in the real world. I never had any of those kind of issues with these monitors. Generally speaking, if a vocal felt too bright, it was too bright. If a vocal felt too dull, it was too dull. If a vocal felt overcompressed, it was overcompressed. If a vocal felt undercompressed, it was undercompressed. I just felt like what I was hearing was the truth. And when I say the truth, what I actually mean, I guess, is my idea of what the truth is when it comes to hearing audio. Because the reality is everyone's ear canal is completely different. So someone's idea of how music should sound is different from person to person. But for me, these speakers represent music in a way that feels natural to me. And that's so important, because then when you're making decisions, when you're producing, when you're mixing, when you're mastering, you can be a lot more intuitive, and you can mix with feeling rather than mixing with your brain and your intelligence and thinking, okay, remember, if it feels like it's got a full low end, then maybe you need to drop it by 2 to 3 dB because the speakers don't have a lot of low end, or all of these adjustments that you have to make for your speakers in order for things to sound how you want them to sound. And for me, I don't want to be second guessing. I don't want to be working and thinking, as much as I'm enjoying and loving how this sounds, is this going to translate outside of the room? And these speakers, they really do translate outside the room. To be fair, most speakers above 4 to 5K will translate outside of the room. I think once you get above the 3 to 4K mark, you're really just going for your taste, because every single speaker is incredible at what it does. But you have to find a speaker that has the right sound profile for you. So for me, I chose these 218s because they have the right sound profile for me. Things sound how I want them to sound. The stereo imaging is incredible, and the articulation and the dynamics, especially the micro dynamics and the depth of field, is truly wonderful on these. Now, they're not the cheapest monitors, and I think they've even gone up in price since I bought mine as well, but they sound their best when they have the big subwoofers underneath them. Now, with the big subwoofers underneath them, these become an incredibly expensive speaker. And if you have that budget, then I highly recommend that setup. However, I don't think it's absolutely necessary. And I don't have the subwoofers with this. I just have them by themselves. And I feel like I'm getting more than enough low end. I actually love the fact that I don't have the subwoofers, if I'm being completely honest, because if I have too much bass, I won't be able to push the speakers loud. And for me, that's a really good way to distinguish, okay, I've got too much low end in my mix. Why? Because they're not turning up, or I can see the woofers are moving and working a lot. Whereas when I can get something sounding loud on this while still having a nice full sounding low end, I'm like, okay, this is balanced. But if I can't turn them up and I'm not hearing a ton of bass, then I'm like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on in those sub frequencies that I need to clean out. So I personally love using them without the subwoofers, but I know that in terms of just sound level, sound quality, these speakers sound on a whole new level when they have them with the subwoofers. And that's another thing that made me love these speakers. Expandability. For a lot of us, when we want to get a better speaker, we simply have to sell the old speaker and buy a new one. But for this one, I knew I was buying into something that gave me a future. Oh gosh, it's like a presidential speech for speakers. But it did, because it meant that I wasn't tied down. Not that I wasn't tied down. It meant that I didn't have to sell these anytime soon. If I want to get a better speaker, I can simply buy the bass extension, and all of a sudden my system sounds incredible. So they can grow with me and they can grow with my budget. Now, I did hear the 115s as well, and I really love those. That's what made me go, okay, I love the way that these are represented in the mid-range. I think I'm going to get on well with the 218s. And then when I got the 218s, I was like, this is incredible. This is amazing. So yeah, for me personally, I love Amphion. I love the way they articulate things. I love the way the mid-range is represented. It's very reminiscent of how NS10s are. If you're used to NS10s, you will love these Amphions, because it's just that, but more. And I know there's people who absolutely detest NS10s, but I love NS10s. And the main thing I love about NS10s is how fast they are and how responsive they are to transients and just how punchy they sound. And these Amphions absolutely have that. So they're not slow, they're fast, they're articulate, and they're just really, really, really solid. In the mid-range, sound natural, sound smooth, don't have to overthink it. That's the main reason why I bought these Amphion 218s. But yeah, I think I'm pretty much waffling now. So I'm gonna have to edit a lot of this out. But yeah, if any of what I said resonates with you, then defo check them out. With any of this speaker stuff, if you're spending above like 2K, don't just buy speakers. Contact your local dealer. I'm sure they'll be able to send you out a pair to hear in your environment to demo, or go down to the store, worst case, and get a rough idea of what it is, and just get a pair of speakers. If you need to buy and return them, I highly recommend doing that, because no matter how good something sounds in someone else's studio, it's only when you get it into your studio that you truly understand how that speaker sounds and how it's going to interact with your room. So never take anyone's opinion. Even though I'm sharing with you how much I love these, take this with a pinch of salt. Maybe use it as the thing to point you in the right direction. But ultimately, you have to get these speakers into your room and make the decision within your room when you're working on mixes and when you're working on production. Yeah, that's my advice on this matter. But anyway, my name's Alex Elliott. Thank you for stopping by. If you like this kind of content, be sure to like and subscribe. And if there's anything that you do want me to review or to do a tutorial on, then do me a favor, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm always looking for content ideas and I'm always trying to build this community more and more and giving you guys ultimately, and girls, the things that you love and want to learn. But yeah, I'll see you next time.